one of the things that was most upsetting both to Xbox gamers and to employees is that, one of the shuttered studios in particular just created a hit game, did really well on Game Pass in terms of engagement, and won a ton of awards. Shouldn't succeeding in that way ensure the future of a studio?
One of the things I really love about the games industry is it's a creative art form. And it means that the situation and what success is for each game and studio is also really unique. Like, there's no one size fits all to it for us. And so we look at each studio, each game team, and we look at a whole variety of factors when we're faced with sort of making decisions and trade-offs like that. But it all comes back to our long-term commitment to the games we create, the devices we build, the services, and ensuring that we're setting ourselves up to be able to deliver on those promises.
Hello there, and welcome to episode 95 of the video game podcast Between the Joysticks. I'm your host, Nick, and I am joined by my co-host, John.
I'm back.
John, you're back.
I'm back. I did it. I survived.
How was your trip?
Both incredible and terrifying at the exact same time, often interlapping and doing all of that kind of stuff, yeah. I took a trip to... flew into Denver, see my buddy Brian, lifelong college friend of mine who, him and I, we fell in love with the outdoors and nature, kind of together when we had a job shortly after college working at an animal park because we're weirdos and got zoology majors. The idea was to go over to Utah, which is probably my favorite place in the world. Moab specifically has Arches National Park, Canyonlands National Park. And so we're going to do a little bit of backcountry camping and stuff like that. We've done that countless times, but then also the big reason for the trip was to go kayaking down the Colorado River, right? It's one of those, the river that made the Grand Canyon. So if you're, New Zealand listener out there, big ass river with some steep red sandy walls. It's gorgeous. One of the most beautiful places I've ever been.
Definitely Google it. Yeah,
definitely Google it. And long story short, it was a wonderful trip, but a couple things made it a little rough. It was supposed to be 85, turned out to be 60 with 40-mile-an-hour winds. Not great. The water itself was then also, very cold. It's about 52. It's all that snow runoff from the Rocky Mountains, so it's not the warmest. And the original plan was to float 30 miles down the river over 2 days, spend one night on the river, and then finish off the next day. But we decided, with the weather being what it was, we're like, let's just do this in one day because I don't really want to sleep out here. It's windy. It sucks. It rained like crazy the night before, which just that doesn't happen in the desert. So it was just weird vibes all around. But we're going down. The first 10 miles are great. Hit a little couple rapids. The water splashed up into my kayak. No big deal. Got really cold. But, what I failed to kind of recognize, I'm not an expert on kayaks. I've been on them a couple times, but I'm a big boy. I'm 220 pounds, 6'3". I don't balance very well in them, and as soon as water starts to enter the kayak, it's incredibly difficult to control. So we hit the second rapids. I just kept taking a little bit of water until the point my kayak was full. I couldn't control it. I roll into the water. Again, 50 degrees. Immediately just kind of makes you go, like you can't really catch your breath, and this situation itself made you start to panic a little bit, right? The rapids are moving. It's pushing us through. There's a bunch of rocks. We didn't have helmets on because everybody's like, hey, it's the easiest fucking thing around here. You'd have to be, an old lady to not be able to do this. I guess we should have told them about what type of vessels we were captaining. But so I roll, realize that I'm not getting the water out of the kayak. I'm not getting back in this thing. I just effectively need to ride the rapids out and hope that I make it out in one piece at the end of it. So I kind of took a page out of Leonardo DiCaprio's book and made myself like Jack from Titanic onto the kayak, put my feet in front of me so that I could kind of kick against the rocks, making sure that I'm not going to just run into one of these things because, again, I know this is not lost on most people, but it's a fucking river. It's moving, right? And at the time, it was 7,000 cubic feet a second of water rushing, which the way they kind of tell you to explain it is like, imagine 7,000 soccer balls with 1 pound of force pushing you at one time. So you have to battle against this shit to not move. Get towards the end of the rapids, finally get my footing. My kayak's underwater. I hulk it out of the water. I think my adrenaline just let me pick that thing up, dump it. And here comes my buddy. He also dumped. So, a lot of that float, I thought that I was an asshole, just like, my friend's going to be mad. Long story short, he didn't get death by 1,000 cuts, but his kayak dipped, got hit with a big white cap wave, took him out in one fell swoop. The cool thing about all this is he has a GoPro video of it, so we can kind of relive this moment. But he starts kind of, floating down the river. He gets to me, I go, hey, are you good? He goes, yeah, I'm fucked, but I'm good. I think I broke my foot. I'm just like, oh God, right? We are 12 miles into a 30-mile-an-hour or a 30-mile float. Our car is at the end of that 30 miles. We have kayaks. I lost my paddle. I had an emergency paddle, but that's all that's good for is steering. So we decide, well, we're not going to sleep out here. It's 60 degrees. I'm in a cotton hoodie. I'm going to get hypothermia. This is not a great situation, but we have to act. Got to do something. Got to figure out a plan. So had to get back in the boats, which was its own thing. I did not want to get back on the water, but you got to do what you got to do.
Yep. Hit
the bank. A little bit down the river because we heard a rapids coming up again. Decide, obviously, we're not going to just try and tackle that rapids without having a plan. Get up, find some high ground, realize that there's a rock outcropping to the right of it. We were able to get our kayaks out of the water, portaged them, which is the technical term for carrying your kayaks over land, into past the rapids, got to the other side of the river, walked to the road about a mile with our kayaks. My friend hitchhiked with a very nice Norwegian man named Orig, 18 miles to his car, and I stayed with the kayaks and contemplated my life's choices and wanting to hug my kids, and he got back and we were all safe and sound. So it was incredible in the sense of where I was, what I was doing, but if there was one lesson to be learned, it was probably hubris, right? If you go out into the wilds, whether you have or haven't, you have to be respectful for it, and we were respectful of it, but didn't maybe take into every consideration into play, and just maybe felt a little too invincible because we've climbed some 14,000 foot mountains. We've done a lot of things together, but it's not until shit hits the fan that you go, oh fuck, I need to figure this out, because
in the middle of nowhere too.
In the middle of nowhere,
that's an added element, right? Like,
yeah, it was a bad situation that could have been a lot worse, right? We didn't have helmets on. If one of us smacked our heads on a rock, I'm way in front of him. He wouldn't have been able to get me. I wouldn't have been able to get to him. If we had lost the emergency paddle, then we have to effectively leave a kayak, jump in the river with our life jackets on, just hope to swim across and battle these. So there's a lot of little things that might have made it extra squirrely, but we got through it. We went and immediately got pizza and beer.
Yeah.
Okay, I just need to gather myself a little bit, and I got a pretty. I don't bruise easily, but I got a big fat bruise on the inner part of my knee on my right leg. But all said and done, we lost 3 water bottles, a paddle, and my buddy got his foot broken or banged up. He didn't break it. He did not break his foot. It was just, I think, a lot of adrenaline rolling at the same time, but. That was just one day out of the 6-day trip. The other 5 days were great.
Yeah.
We did some disc golfing, backcountry camping, like I said, 7 miles into Canyonlands National Park. It was wonderful. I love it. But I think I'm done with water. Water's just fucking gnarly, man.
Unpredictable.
It's strong. It's unpredictable. It's cold most of the time. I just, so if I ever do anything like that again, I'm going on one of those guided, big orange, indestructible raft things that we saw everybody else having the time of their life. That was the other thing, is we just passed one of those and we then dip in the next rapid. So him and I both thinking these people are watching us fucking flounder in the water and expected them to kind of come up to us afterwards, and no, they got past us like, hey guys, and just kept going. So I don't know if they knew what happened or not, but long story short, kids, have a plan, be extra safe. It wasn't life or death, but it was a moment, and I don't regret it, but could have been a little better planned. So,
well, we're glad to have you back, and And don't worry, the video game industry is doing great.
Yeah.
Since you've been gone.
Yeah.
There's nothing as bad has happened as you've enjoyed your one hobby. Your other favorite hobby, it's doing great.
Going
Don't worry.
strong.
Which we'll get into in a little bit. But,
Totally not going through a little bit of rapids of its own.
No,
huh?
yeah, exactly. So, we'll get into that when we start the official start of the show. But there are 2 news items I did want to touch on. Good news items.
Starting off strong.
And the first one is Hades 2 is in early access. John, I made you watch the trailer earlier.
Yes, you did.
What are your thoughts?
Oh man, I'm so excited. I mean, it was already my most anticipated game by far. But just going back into that world, if you want to call it a world, because can't think of another word to say.
Yeah.
And just seeing that art style and the combat and how fast it is and how many different combinations of things you can do. I mean, this trailer, it really seemed like it was just kind of showcasing how the amount of content that is in this package, where, the first game was no slouch by any means. I mean, I platinumed it in about 75, 80 hours. You can beat it if you just kind of want to beat it quickly in 20, 25, which is a big game for that type of thing. But, just in the early access build that I've been reading, it's like 30 hours of content with a crazy amount more to go. You can go 2 different paths now. Obviously, we have different gods to interact with, different boons to interact with. All that was expected, but just to see it in motion, to see it actually there, and Supergiant once again showing that they are, in my opinion, the best indie developer in the world, and arguably one of the overall best developers in the world. Like it's been really hard because everybody knows me knows I love Hades, and they're all, "Hey, did you check it out?" And I'm like, "No, I'm being a turd about it. I'm not going to mess around with PC. I just want my 1.0 release when it comes here." And it's been hard. I got a brother-in-law who's really into early access and PC and stuff like that, and he loves Hades. He loves roguelikes. Like, we have a lot of similar tastes in that way, and he's just been about it.
I can't escape it.
But it's can't say I'm surprised, but it was very, very wonderful to see.
Yeah, I always recommend it. People listen to episode 26 of our show where that game was announced, and John got all excited because he didn't think they would ever exist. Supergiant typically does not do sequels to any of their games, so it's exciting that it exists, and now that we see how far along it is, which was my takeaway from the trailer, is like, it is early access, but this looks to be nearly complete. So my question is, John, I know they're saying probably be in early access for the rest of this year, but you never know. You never know.
Well, if this releases, I'll maybe give your a little best year ever argument a little bit of more credence, but I would still put my money in early next year. I think they are one of those teams, similar to Naughty Dog, that just puts so much pride into the quality of the things that they release.
That's true.
That it's worth it for them to let it cook, make sure it's absolutely perfect. I mean, this is going to be in Game of the Year conversations, and that's in a year that Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to be coming out, maybe some sort of Persona thing. Who knows? Maybe the next 3D Mario game. That's the competition.
Yeah, there'll be a Switch 2 out next year.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of high quality games, but Supergiant is smart enough to make sure that they're listening to fan feedback, because that's a part of it too, I think, right? Is they are receptive to what people are telling them. So they put all their ideas out, they finish it to as far as they can go, and then hey, tell us what are we missing? True. What doesn't feel right?
True.
And so I'm feeling. I'm just gonna throw it out. I'm feeling March next year. I don't know why, but that's kind of where I'm thinking.
Yeah, and there's really no rush. Obviously their last game was very successful. I'm sure this game in early access, I think it's $30.
Oh, it'll immediately become their best-selling game within probably 2 or 3 days.
They're making money while they're working on it, which is the benefit of early access. We saw that with Baldur's Gate 3.
Well, it's interesting too that we work with a couple guys who play almost exclusively PC, and with this beta, it's gotten them to talk about the first one. True. They came up, "Hey, have you heard of Hades?" Have I heard of Hades? And then it's just cool to see that it does seem like it's having its just because it Persona 5 moment where it's just oh, this thing exists, and this team is good, and oh, what is this? And then people start to gradually fill in and into it. Yeah, man, it's gonna be dope. Can't wait. I'm there.
Yeah,
day zero.
Me too. Yeah, it looks incredible, and
I had to convince you on Hades 1, right? Or you knew how good it was.
You brought it to me on Switch, I remember, and then I played it and I liked it.
Yeah.
I was
30
definitely
bucks.
much more receptive to that one because I had played other Supergiant games. So
Yeah, it was like $30. So
Yeah.
like, low barrier.
So and I played it right when it came out on PlayStation.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. Dumb exclusive thing.
Yep. And then the other news item, and this is breaking news of the day we're recording, is Assassin's Creed Project Red is now Assassin's Creed Shadows, and we are going to get a cinematic trailer this upcoming May 15th, this week, at 9 a.m. Pacific time. John, I know it's been a minute. I can't even remember the last Assassin's Creed game you played. I did play Valhalla, not Mirage's latest game. We both skipped over that, but is there any interest in this game at all? This is one that will be set in Japan.
It's a definite. I'm not writing it off, but it has to do something different. Just for your knowledge, Odyssey was the last one I played and beat.
Yep.
In fact, it might be the only Assassin's Creed I've ever beaten.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, I played a little bit of 2. I played a little bit of Black Flag. Never played Unity or Brotherhood or any of that stuff. So, yeah. I mean, it's it's the running gag with this franchise, right? This is the perfect setting, the perfect situation that should have been breached a long time ago. Shadows is an incredibly boring name, but I get it for what it is.
It means ninjas.
It does mean ninjas. And so, I want to see gameplay of this game. I want to see what is the vibe. Is it like dark and grim setting in Japan? Or is it like, hey, look at all the bright colors, like Avatar or something like that? It is a Ubisoft property at the end of the day. So it has a lot of unknowns for me, but I'm not going to write it off because what Assassin's Creed is at its core is fun to me. But when they started to bloat it with, honestly, Origins, and then a little more egregious with Odyssey, and then crazy egregious with Valhalla, I don't have time for that anymore. So,
True.
I don't know how they can sell me as a open world fatiguist. But I'm interested to see more, just if only because we finally got there with this franchise into ninja territory, which is where I feel like it should have been a long time ago.
Yeah. Again, this is a cinematic trailer. I'm assuming gameplay will be coming at Ubisoft Forward in June, so we won't have to wait too long.
Oh, you can book that one. That's a guarantee.
Yeah. But it's very likely we'll probably get a release date if it is in fact this year.
Yeah.
If not, maybe they might wait till June. But they gave us a release date for Star Wars Outlaws, so
which is August, right?
Mm-hmm. August 30th. So this could be their November October game. So
I mean, Mirage was October, right?
Yeah, and again with cinematic trailers, we're kind of expecting again the vibe. The era that it is in Japan, the hint at the weapons you'll be using, the stealth mechanics, but we won't get it again. We won't know how that works in gameplay, but you'll get a good idea of a lot of what's going on.
I'll bet my firstborn that there's smoke bombs.
Oh yeah, but yeah, as someone who just finished Shogun, I'm all for this setting and.
It's honestly a better question for you as somebody who did play Valhalla and has the open world time and on all that stuff. I mean, that's kind of, what do you?
I am definitely excited. Like I said, I would just want to see what it is and what the vibe is, but I think I will like it.
But I do know you hated the end of Valhalla. You're like, let me finish this.
Yeah, Valhalla was a drag. That game was way too long, and the mythical elements of it was not exciting at all.
Japanese mythical stuff's cool though.
Yeah, that's true. I'm a little tired of Norse mythology, but
sure,
not so much Japanese mythology. So, yeah, I'm always excited. And it is their premier franchise. It's been a minute since a full proper Assassin's Creed game, so this should get all the nice next gen bells and whistles.
I can't listen to any more.
Current gen, I'm sorry.
Rayman slander. Rayman's a premier franchise. What do you mean? He's in the battle royale still.
Yeah,
nobody can kill that, man.
All right, so that's all I got for news items because we really should get into the show.
Yeah, let's go.
And speaking of the battle royale, we're actually going to push it this week because that's how big of the topics we have to talk about. It was a crazy week in video games last week from all fronts. So let's get into how the show works. John and I can both bring up the 3 things to talk about. It can be a video game we're playing. I am playing Animal Well, and I'll be bringing that later in the show. It can be a news item. Sony and Microsoft competed who's the worst publisher over last week in what John referred to as a clown show or circus.
Yeah, clown show.
It can be a topic. It can be an email from you, the listener. If you have any thoughts about the things we are talking about, you can email us at betweenthejoysticks@gmail.com. You can send us a Twitter DM at joystickspod, or you can reach out to us on YouTube at Between the Joysticks. Leave a comment there, and we will read it on the show. Any of those things, we bring up to 6 things to talk about. So let's start with the first big thing because it happened right when John left.
Well, yeah, it's comical at this point.
Yeah,
we cannot be together when things actually happen.
Yeah. John wanted to go on his dream vacation, and the monkey paw was like, here you go. Yep. But then it's going to disrupt the industry you love so much. So let's start with Sony and Helldivers 2. When Helldivers 2 launched on PC, you had the option to create a PlayStation Network account and link it to the game. There really wasn't any benefit to that, but it was there. But you had the option not to. But on May 3rd, Sony announced that due to technical issues at the launch of Helldivers 2, we allowed the linking requirements for Steam accounts to a PlayStation Network account to be temporarily optional. That grace period will now expire. Account linking plays a critical role in protecting our players and upholding the values of safety and security provided by PlayStation and PlayStation Studio games. This is our main way to protect players from griefing and abuse by enabling the banning of players that engage in this type of behavior. It also allows those players that have been banned the right to appeal. As such, as of May 6th, all new Helldivers 2 players on Steam will be required to connect their Steam account to a PlayStation Network account. Current players on Steam will start to see the mandatory login from May 30th and will be required to have a linked Steam and PlayStation Network account by June 4th. PlayStation accounts are free and blah, 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 easy to set up. But are they? So the community responded not great, but
vehemently.
But let's get your initial opinion. We'll divide this up into 3 sections: the announcement, the reaction, and then the result. John, how do you feel about this account linking? This is something we're all familiar with. If you want to sign into a Warner Brothers, if I'm playing Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, I'm typically linking my Warner Brothers account to that. Or if I'm playing upcoming multiverses, I have to create a Warner Brothers account.
Yeah.
Ubisoft, Activision, you're playing Call of Duty, you're doing it. If you're playing Battlefield, you're doing it. This is something we know that we're familiar with and happens across a lot of games.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about this happening with Helldivers?
My gut response to it. So this kind of has happened in multiple waves for me, being that I did have limited cell service and I popped in every once in a while. At first, I thought it was a thing where people were going to have to pay for it, right? Where you had to sign up to pay for a PSN in order to play this game. And when I heard that, I was like, that's fucking garbage, man. Like, that would suck. You bought this game with the notion that I'm going to play it on PC. I don't have to pay for online. That's probably the biggest boon to PC gaming, especially if you play online. So at first, I was like, yeah, that's fucking bullshit, man. That sucks. Then learning, after talking with you and looking into the subject a little bit further, that it's simply basically logging into another account.
Yep.
Really lessens my the level of drama that I think this should be causing. And let me put it. I'm gonna tell this to you, but don't worry. I promise it relates. Okay. Over the weekend, my son had his first travel tournament, right? Mm-hmm. And he's 7 years old. He's still learning the game of baseball. He's pretty good at it, but they're doing their first big boy baseball where there's pitching and like stealing and coaches that give a shit. And my son made a couple bad plays at third. And the coach put him in the outfield for the next inning because he wasn't making a catch. Quite honestly, it was kind of one of those things. I was like, it sucks, but I get it. We'll work on this. We'll get better. Move on with our life. My dad was there. He flipped out. He's like, what is that about? How can you do that? Like, make an example. And I just look at him and I'm like, it's not that serious.
Right.
This isn't that big of a deal, Dad. He's 7. I get it. It sucks. I kind of wish the coach handled it in a bit of a different way too. But at the end of the day, my son's playing baseball, he's having fun, he's smiling, he's playing with his friends, calm down. Right. And that's kind of how I feel about something like this, where at the end of the day, can you play the thing you love? Can you hang out with your friends? Do you have to maybe go through a couple extra steps? Is it bullshit in a couple ways? Yeah, it probably is. Sony's not doing this. Probably part of it is to handle griefers and things, but they want your data, right? They want your data.
They want the stats of, look how many accounts signed up.
Yeah. So when it's all said and done, I just feel like there's so many people in this fucking world that just want to be mad about things and just want to have something to complain about. Does it suck? Yes. Should they have been more forward with it? Yes. Should they have said when the game came out, hey, this isn't working right now. Come in 3 months from now, you're probably going to have to do
Definitely
that.
should have been clear about that, but let it be said, on the Steam page, it said PSN account required.
Okay.
Since launch.
Yep.
So
it's one of those things, and I'll kick it back to you here in a sec because I have a tendency to ramble.
No, you're fine.
That it's just kind of one of those cost of doing businesses. Do I like this game enough to deal with oh no, I have to type in one more password. Maybe I'm not thinking it's as severe as it is. I don't play on PC, but I don't think it's quite as serious as it seemed to be.
And I think the other factor here is the game, right? Helldivers 2 is a great feel-good story in a year of shitty layoffs, shitty stories. This is one of the biggest successes ever for Sony. A huge success this year. The community loves the game. They love the meta of the game, the major orders, the propaganda that comes with it. The community is more passionate about this game than most games, I'd say.
Yeah.
So I think, and we'll get into the next part here, but so Sony's not liked very much.
No.
None of the big publishers are. Microsoft, EA,
I get it.
Ubisoft. We talked about the Ubisoft stink a few weeks ago. Like, they all just, nobody likes them right now.
Well, and Sony's always like the main, they're money grubbers kind of is like their thing.
Yeah, and they pay for exclusives, and people obviously don't like that as well. So a lot of their practices, people don't like. But so again, the community responds, as you would think, very negatively. One of the biggest points being that if you are in a country that does not support PlayStation Network, you're just boned at that point.
And that is a valid complaint. But
yeah. So to that point, the game started getting pulled in those countries. Steam started issuing refunds because it was a valid reason. And then the community as a whole went and review bombed the fuck out of the game on Steam. Over 200,000 negative reviews. Again, that's how passionate this community is. That's how much this game has sold. And they jokingly said it was the new major order was to review bomb the game on Steam, and they did. It was crazy. Arrowhead responded. They were like, we're clarifying for Sony's position on countries that don't support PlayStation Network. This was kind of thrusted on us. We knew about it before the game was launching, but we didn't know the degree of the effect of it. They're trying to get ahead of it, and the CEO, who's been very vocal, he's like, I understand. You guys got to do what you got to do, and this is well-deserved, this review bombing. So how do you feel about this part of the story, John?
I mean, people are allowed to behave and do what they want to do. It as I'm sure you'll discuss here in a second, it was a loud enough response that it caused action.
Yeah.
So in terms of a community coming together with a agreed upon, issue and taking action, I think more power to you. I mean, this is, we live in the United States here. This is how you are supposed to be able to do things. You're supposed to voice your opinion. But I still kind of think it's baby behavior. I'll still say that.
Yeah, I agree. There's just so many bad things in the world for video games.
I mean,
to get the ear that they've always gotten, and the companies, EA being voted the worst company in the U.S. is laughable
compared to Nestle and was it Monsanto?
Or private military, Halliburton, make weapons and all that stuff. Ridiculous, but the majority of social media people play video games apparently. So
they do.
Reddit especially.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's like you said, there's just so many other things to be concerned with, and video game fans have always been a very much a what have you done for me lately type group. That's how we are, for better or for worse. But it is, I don't know, I do find it a little just shitty behavior due to the fact that you go back in time 1 month and you gushing about this game. Just, oh my God, Arrowhead,
phase.
you guys are the best.
Yeah.
And let's Helldivers forever. And it's just like one little login issue is enough to get you to just completely flip on something you loved. That's just shitty. I don't, we're really good friends, Nick. I'm not going to throw away 4 years of like good video game chats, hanging out, getting drunk together, whatever, because you say, hey, Lord of the Rings is fucking gay, or like whatever the case. It's like that's and I kind of feel like it's like the same kind of thing. It's like, how about you give them a second, let them explain themselves, take the whole scope of everything.
It's so knee jerk, yeah,
and let's then evaluate. But they also, to their credit, they gave him a 3-day window from May 3rd to May 6th to take action. They took action quickly. They did it.
Yeah.
So there is that.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of, as we get into the next topic too, a lot of internet virtue signaling. Like, I'm for the gamers, and I'm on your side, and this is terrible, this is horrible, and a lot of people, and this is not unique to gaming. Like, social media is just a platform for narcissism, and I'm with you by giving you the least amount of commitment or action. Like, I just give you a post. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm doing hearts with my hands.
Like if I'm mad about something, what is a social media post doing? Nothing.
No.
There's other actions I can take that have a bigger impact. But as you mentioned, it did work. Not even by May 5th, Sunday night, after the Friday they announced it. Here's Sony. Helldivers fans, we've heard your feedback on the Helldivers 2 account linking update. The May 6th update, which would have required Steam and PlayStation Network account linking for new players and for current players beginning May 30th, will not be moving forward. We're still learning what is best for PC players, and your feedback has been invaluable. Thanks again for your continued support of Helldivers 2, and we'll keep you updated on future plans.
There it is.
They won.
Yeah, I mean, when I read that, I was like, oh shit, they did it. Like, anytime a company backs down on something, it is always kind of like, oh shit.
And to go back on, the knee-jerk reaction and the negativity that surrounded it, the subreddit specifically instantly was like, okay, everyone reverse your reviews. Like, go back, delete your review, or switch it back to overly positive, because we got what we wanted, and we still love this game, and so let's not just leave this game in the dirt. Let's get it back up to what it was before. So it's not all negative, but
no, it just feels like the way that a 13-year-old would process a serious life scenario is kind of how it feels. And that's fine. I don't, because like
that's pretty good analogy.
I mean, these are the same group of people that, why doesn't Sony put any of their games on PC? It's like, why aren't, and then they start doing it. We're like, hey, this is great, cool, here comes Helldivers, this is great. Oh, I have to link us thing, I can't go into Steam exclusive, and then it just falls apart. It's just
right. And as we met when we started, it's like what everyone's doing, so it's not a new behavior for video games. But to wrap up this story is that it's not over. Ghost of Tsushima is coming to PC May 16th, and while you can play the single player, if you want to play Ghost of Tsushima Legends, the co-op multiplayer mode, John and I played it very briefly, you do need a PSN account. So it's going through the same fiasco. It is not available in those countries where PSN is. You cannot sign up for a PSN account. So
yeah,
back.
Yeah, this one's interesting. And to go back to your point earlier about it, this situation does unequivocally suck for anybody who lives in a country that doesn't have PSN access. Right, Philippines is a big one. But yeah, I would wonder how many total PlayStation users is that, because I'm looking at a list of countries right now, right? And it's, there's some ones on there, the Philippines, but then it's like Greenland, Antarctica, Bangladesh, Bahamas, Azerbaijan. Weirdly, Japan's on this list, so I don't quite understand what that's about. But it's like, not just being a realist here. A lot of these places don't even have reliable internet, don't have reliable electricity, and while it would be very unfortunate for most of these people, I guarantee 99.8% of people who have posted something online about it, they live in a country this does not impact.
Right. It would be, again, the video game industry is so secretive about data and how many people are really affected by this.
Yeah.
I don't know. But
grab your pitchforks.
Yeah, but just this is going to be a trend. I mean, they're going to, just like everyone else, if you want to play Sony first-party games, they're going to want you to link an account. And, with this, we're going to talk about E3 predictions with this God of War Ragnarok rumor coming full steam that is coming to PC.
For sure.
Will single-player games be thrown into this mix? And I wonder.
Yeah, and I would also, if anybody out there is listening who engages in PC or has strong feelings kind of opposite of what Nick and I are saying, I would please write in, because I'm just curious, is there something I'm missing? Is there an aspect to logging into a different thing on your PC that, again, I'm not grabbing the full gravitas of the situation? It just seems like another one of these really guys type things, and I don't want to sound like a PlayStation apologist, but that's kind of how I feel right now. It's like I just don't see the drama.
Yeah, it was interesting because I don't know if you're familiar with Gary Whitta.
Yeah,
he's on Kind of Funny.
Rogue One.
Yeah, he's on Kind of Funny a lot. He does their Xbox podcast, and he's a big Helldivers fan. It's like his top 10 game that he's ever played, ever. And so, when this happened, Greg Miller was like, "Hey, do you want to be on the show to talk about this?" And he's like, "I don't give a fuck. I already linked it the second I
who
bought the
cares?
game." So,
that's a good good pull.
So it's interesting, and again, we'll continue on to the next topic, but yeah, like you said, does the internet outcry? And I'm 100% believe this is a vocal minority.
Yeah.
All the time. Most people don't care. The people that are crying about this, how were they playing Helldivers 2 that weekend? Because that seems a little weird if you're bemoaning this game and its practices, and then you played it all weekend. That's not so great. But let's move on because when you're like, is Sony the worst company? Are they shooting themselves in the foot with the golden goose of Helldivers? Well,
it's finally Xbox's turn to take advantage of the situation.
Yeah, Microsoft says, "Hold my beer."
Spoiler alert. Nah.
All right, John. All right, I'm going to sit back and I'm just going to relax. I'm going to try and take as many notes as I can as you get on to this next topic.
And start just waving your hands or something if you want to say something.
Yeah.
I'll keep going. But and of course,
what did Microsoft do?
Let's go. So Microsoft, our beloved Microsoft, helmed by Jesus Phil Spencer himself. They trimmed the fat a little bit, Nick. They already got off to a rough start of the year, had some layoffs, as everybody in the industry did. It's not exclusive to them. But earlier this week, big one, they announced Xbox has officially closed 4 Bethesda studios, including Redfall developer Arcane Austin and Hi-Fi Rush developer Tango Gameworks, as well as the Mighty Doom developer Alpha Dog Games and Bethesda support studio Roundhouse Games. Shuttered them entirely. This is a package of teams that Xbox purchased back in, I believe, 2017. And
one quick correction.
Yeah.
Roundhouse Games is getting merged.
Studios
is closing, but they're getting absorbed into ZeniMax Online Studios.
Okay. Thank you for the correction.
Yeah. Studio's still gone, but they're a little different.
Yeah. So this was Bethesda, of course, was purchased back in, I believe, 2018 as part of the ZeniMax deal. That was kind of Microsoft's first round of purchases where they really made a play to grow their studios. That was when they bought all of Bethesda.
2018?
Yeah, wasn't it 2018? No, when was it?
we were hanging out when it happened, when they announced it, so I think it's 2021.
2021. Time is a flat circle.
Yeah.
All right, well, it was
Hasn't been that long.
It was that round of purchases with like Obsidian and the Hellblade Studio, Ninja Theory, things like that.
That might have been before, but Bethesda proper was 2021.
It was its own specific thing? It wasn't all in the same thing?
Yeah, correct.
Okay, that's what I'm thinking. I'm sorry. Yeah, I was thinking of like the Undead Labs purchase and
Double Fine
and all that. So that was the first round, and then they made the big purchase of ZeniMax for about $7 billion, which included all these studios.
Yeah.
My apologies.
fine. You gotta get back into things. I know you've been gone.
Back into the swing of things. So shuttered these 4 teams, and man, oh man, did this kind of send everybody down a very negative spiral in all of the gaming community, not just in the Xbox circles, because it kind of is just more proof in the pudding of like the economy is fucked, things are not good. But what it really did is it really put a spotlight back on that Microsoft leadership team that I love to talk about so much here, Nick. And that's kind of what I think you were referring to earlier in the show about the clown show. You know, you sent me a thing about it, like, holy shit, this is happening. And I think I responded with like, what a fucking joke. It's a clown show over there. And it's not... I'm going to back off. I don't want to get into a rant too early, okay? So what I want to take this first, Nick, is the leadership team, right? So specifically, I'm thinking of Phil Spencer, Sarah Bond, Aaron Greenberg, Matt Booty, right? They are kind of the 4 guys that I think of when I think of this leadership team. Of course, you have
They're the ones out there all the time.
Yeah, you have the Satya Nadellas, who's the Microsoft CEO, things like that. But these are the guys who keep making the decisions about the Microsoft brand, the Xbox brand, how they want to push it forward, how they want to grow the industry, be a positive influence in the industry. They got it all figured out, right? They love to just keep telling everybody, we got it, guys, don't worry. But they need to go, Nick. This is the last straw. They need to go, right?
Okay, can I preface that with a question? Because I'm assuming the answer is yes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what you talked about, you brought this point up before, is that when they bought Activision, $69 billion, that the eye of Microsoft as a company looked at Xbox, and now it's really under scrutiny because the amount of money they spent, to acquire Activision. So bringing this back, do you think this is a that team, Xbox Game Studios team, this was their decision, or do you think this came from above? And we don't know.
Yeah. I do. I think it was their decision. I think Satya, he just wants them to make money, and I think weirdly he's put so much trust into these guys that seemingly can do no wrong. But I think it was their decision because at the end of the day, they know their studios better than anybody else. I think Satya probably went to them, and I'm going to jump ahead a little bit here, but I think a large reason for this shift in their the way they want to handle business is the success of this Fallout TV show. When that show came out, article after article about how successful it was, about how Todd Howard wished they had studios ready to go with another Fallout property, and I think that was Satya going, oh, this is where the money is. Figure out a way to probably get it so that we can just produce Fallout stuff. We can produce Elder Scrolls stuff. We can produce Doom stuff. Because I think we saw the same thing with when they purchased Activision, right? They got Activision, $69 billion.
Focus on the brands that sell.
Yeah, we're going to Toys for Bob. Don't give a shit. That doesn't matter. We need to support the Call of Duty machine. That's the whole goal right now. And I think they're kind of looking at this in a similar way. We need to support the Fallout machine, the Elder Scrolls machine, and the Doom machine.
That supports that Newzoo report that we went over, is how they said, brand strength is huge. Mm-hmm. And when you're looking at the studios who brands are not very strong, the Tango with Ghostwire Tokyo and The Evil Within and Hi-Fi Rush, which is kind of the exception. And then you go to Arcane Austin and you go Redfall, Prey. Those aren't brands you really want to. Yep. They don't have the future.
Nope, it's not included in that 60% of games that are 7 years old that people are playing all the fucking time now, right? Like it's getting squirrelier and squirrelier. It's the things that I keep saying on this podcast about the balance of the economy and how Game Pass as a whole has been such a negative on the industry. I am calling it now, Nick. This is my line in the sand where I am officially anti Xbox leadership. I'm officially anti Game Pass. I think it is we are just continuing to see how the negative. How negative this is to the industry as a whole. It's teaching people not to buy games, which is throwing everything off. It's teaching people to wait and say, oh, is that going to be on Game Pass? And it's showing repercussions throughout the industry now where it's like people just need content. We need content. We need to fill up Game Pass. We need more games. We need more games. If we don't have more games, we're not making profits, where profits need to increase. And it's just gotten uncontrollable.
And the ambiguity of what is successful on Game Pass, because Hi-Fi Rush is the big one, right? Mm-hmm. People are like, that is an award-winning, best-reviewed game for Microsoft last year. That seems to be the focus, and I, and when Matt Booty, he got caught again in a town hall saying we need more smaller projects that bring us prestige, bring us, awards, and even Johan Johannes, the creative director on Hi-Fi Rush, he retweeted that.
Oh, like these?
With a deadpan look of Peppermint, just looking deadpan into the camera from Hi-Fi Rush.
Next to all their awards.
That you're talking about. What it sounds like he's talking about is Hi-Fi Rush, but was Hi-Fi Rush successful? Like we will never know because we don't have, the MPD numbers to look at. We just have a game that was shadow launched on Xbox. Did it drive subscriptions? Did it drive engagement?
Nope.
According to Aaron Greenberg, that year it met all their metrics, but apparently, it did it, or is it when John or Johan Johannes goes to Microsoft and he goes, "Hey, for $40 million, I can get us Hi-Fi Rush 2 in 4 years," and they're just like, "We can't wait that long, and we don't want to spend that money." And unfortunately, your studio, because I guess I'll track back here. My initial reaction to this sucks.
Yeah.
But then when I looked at the studios, right, and their library of games and how they have not been successful at all. Think about where Bethesda was when they got bought. Bethesda was not in a great place. They all they have is Skyrim money.
Was it right after 76 got released?
Yeah, after 76, and Prey's not doing well. Even Dishonored 2's not selling well. Wolfenstein not selling that well. Just a lot of their games not doing well. That they were signing these deals, right? Like we got Deathloop as a PlayStation exclusive. We got Ghostwire Tokyo, and then the rumor was Starfield was going to be the other one before Microsoft bought them. That I think these studios just weren't bringing it. They didn't have successful brands. They didn't have successful games. And in this industry right now, with how things are, with the high interest rates, with the economy the way it is, that they don't have you don't have trust in the brand that they can bring it again.
Yeah.
And even like I said, even though Hi-Fi Rushes came and won awards, I still think they're like, well, can we wait another 4 years for Hi-Fi Rush 2 and maybe it does a little bit better than this game or whatever. If Arcane Austin pitches Dishonored 3, do we have trust them after Redfall?
No.
Probably not. Like they're the furthest away from projects. Now, are there worse studios out there? Yeah, I think Undead Labs and State of Decay 3, that studio's probably closing when that game launches.
Yeah.
Do I worry for Ninja Theory?
Ninja Theory
taking
is a big one.
forever with Hellblade 2, and then also launching. They had that multiplayer game, Bleeding Edge. That game came and went and failed. So I know again that people losing their jobs sucks. Studio closing sucks. But I don't know, man. I think the writing is on the wall for a lot of these studios. If you ask me if Rocksteady going to be around a year from now, I don't think they will be. That studio will be gone because they bet big on Suicide Squad, and that is a $200 million loss.
Yeah. And I don't think you're wrong. I think that's a great analysis. And to answer your question from earlier, I think Hi-Fi Rush is just probably the best example of a game that was not suited to go out on Game Pass, or that in releasing in a world where Game Pass exists is not going to thrive. And I think that's part of the fucking problem. If Game Pass didn't exist and Hi-Fi Rush came out, the game would have been huge. People would have bought.
So?
I do. I mean, huge in the sense that, like, if Bethesda wasn't owned by Microsoft, if they were still managing their own books, they release a game, it sells well. I think the word of mouth on that game was huge. I would have spent $40 on it to check it out. I think many, many people would have. But being that it was just this one-time lump sum that you figure Tango got, but it's already owned by the company that is giving the payment anyway, and it's just this shitty, unwieldy thing that me as a non-economist can't really evaluate maybe on an in-depth level, but from a sky view, it's just like, yeah, dude, this something doesn't smell right here. And I think that's a big example of it. And I was going to bring this up later, but I think it's kind of relevant now, is I think what we're running into with a lot of these teams, right? Microsoft spent all this money to buy all these teams, get all these resources. Obviously, they can't manage it. It's mismanagement to an insane degree. But what I think is a part of the reason for that mismanagement is I took a look at the game releases on every single console, going back to NES. And I found something interesting. I thought it was going to be the case, but my theory was that there's just simply too many games being made now, and with too many, with a few games holding 60% of the attention of everybody, and the amount of things keeping come out, people are just going to continue to die. And when I say people, companies, right? Different companies, different studios, they're going to continue to die. The NES had a total of 1,386 games on it. The SNES had 1,738. The N64, only 388, which is crazy. But the PlayStation had 4,000, so we're getting higher, right? We're getting up there. PS2, little over 4,000, little bit higher. PS3, 5,000. Okay. And I know you played games during this time. This was the time where it started to go, okay, there's a lot of shit coming out, right? We got all these.
Not all of it's good.
Not all of it's good. We're getting some vaporware. We're getting these double A, single A, just bullshit
And
projects.
that is the rise of like smaller indie games too.
It is, and there's a place for that.
Castle Crashers, Braid, games like that.
Yep.
So.
But then we get to the PS4 generation, and then we are at 10,500, more than double what the PS3 was.
So much garbage.
And then I looked on Steam. There are 73,000 games on Steam. 9,000 of them were published in the first 9 months of 2023 alone. So what we have is a bloated industry, a bloated amount of people working in this industry that is not comparable to any stretch of the imagination to what it was back when I think video games were having their boom. Not saying we need to stay in that way entirely, but like something has to give. And when you have a large company like Microsoft who can swing their big old Windows dick around, not worrying about money in the world, they can gobble up resources and effectively go, well, we better buy these so that our competition can't use this. And then they get them and they go, well, we can't manage these, so we might as well just dissolve them. That is not good for anybody. That is a bad way to do business. And we're seeing Tango Gameworks, right? Hi-Fi Rush. I know you didn't like it, Nick. I thought it was fantastic.
And
right?
I did want to say,
yeah,
I forgot to preface this. I'm sorry, it's not my fault. I know Phil Spencer and Sarah Bond are big fans of the show. They love Xbox chums.
They do.
But and then they heard my review of Hi-Fi Rush, and then this happened. I'm sorry, it was not my fault. It wasn't because I did not like the game. I did buy it, so I put my money where my mouth was.
That's true.
They got my money. I just want to put that out there, but go ahead.
Yeah. But but now we're starting to see these teams that have big names like this. Tango was a studio started by Shinji Mikami, right? The father of Resident Evil. This isn't a small weird little team. We're just seeing all of these disruptions that Microsoft continues to do. If we think back on Microsoft in this space from its infancy, they bought their way in. They bought the Halo IP to give their thing a little bit of credence. They bought pretty much every studio that they've ever had be relevant in their ecosystem. They don't know how to culture or to foster grassroots efforts with developers. They don't know how to allow their teams to be creative and do the things, and it gets especially upsetting when you then listen to all the things that Phil Spencer and these guys say, right? I pulled a lot of quotes. I don't think I have time to go through all of these, right?
No.
But on the Kind of Funny Gamecast, right, the infamous Kind of Funny Gamescast interview with Phil Spencer, quote unquote, I want to give the teams the creative platform to go and push their ability, push their aspirations. In an interview with GameWatch, Spencer praised Hi-Fi Rush for its high quality and said that players could expect to see many more AAA titles from Japan. Proceeds to then shut down the only Japanese team, right?
Just quickly, because I know, they took it on the chin for everything they said. Sarah Bond, Matt Booty, they have a lot of bad quotes out there.
Yep.
Aaron Greenberg, too. They are out there more than anybody else. Like, I was just, in my head, I was like, who at Sony is talking as much as them? Or who could you compare to them? Like, we have Herman Hulst. He was in the last State of Play, and then her name escapes me. She's been in a few State of Plays, too.
Yeah, I don't remember.
But they're not doing interviews like this. And then Nintendo, it's like,
well,
nobody.
You know the answer to this, right? it's first place, second place, third place.
Yeah,
right?
I know. They are in the loser the last place.
But
and
you do have to give them credit and props for getting out there and taking the punches on the chin.
Yeah, but again, when you're out there a lot, you are quoted saying a lot of things, and then, bam, this happens.
Yeah,
and it's like it couldn't be like the worst time. We're a week away from Hellblade 2.
yeah. It's already been that brand has already been in shaky ground all year, right? With the rumors of, oh crap, are we losing every game to PlayStation? And like, that's probably going to happen still. Yeah. But like, it's just the hits keep coming, and I just I don't know how anybody can defend the moves that these guys are making anymore. They try to be disruptive. They try to have these ideas that are going to be for the gamers, for everybody. Game Pass is great. It's a value. Yes, it is that. But what is the long-term ramifications?
Did you see the comment by Thomas Mahler, CEO of Moon Studios?
I did. I didn't write it on this, but yeah, if you have it in front of you,
yeah, I do.
That was a good one. This is basically like, this is why we didn't want to get bought.
This is the maker of Ori. What is it? Light No Fire? Is that their...
No, that's Hello Games. Their next one's No Rest for the Wicked.
Thank you. To everyone who has been pestering me for years about why we didn't allow Moon Studios to get acquired by a big publisher, that's why. I've lived through the 90s and saw what happened when smaller studios got acquired by EA. Never again. And and I agree with them. If your studio is a super giant and you can afford to do it, but I do think that's not always the case for a lot of these independent developers.
Sure.
I think when Microsoft initially buys you, you're not going, they're going to shut us down in 3 years. You think like, this is a guaranteed
influx of cash.
Yeah, this is a guaranteed paycheck. I have guaranteed payroll for all my developers. I have access to all the resources that come with Microsoft. But if you do have that option, if you are a studio that can do it, yeah, great. But I don't think a lot of these independent studios, I don't think Double Fine especially, I love them. I think they make some of the most weird and interactive games, and Tim Schafer's a legend in the industry, but I think Double Fine had to fight a lot of times for paychecks and the next project and the next project and the next project.
Yeah,
but
no, I would never begrudge anybody for taking that big fucking lump sum of money. Like, that's a hard thing to deny. But at the same time, yeah, Moon Studios, like you're almost not even an indie developer. You guys are really top tier. So it's like not everybody can have that confidence to be. It'd be like if Supergiant was going to get bought, I'd be like, no, we're going to just keep making shit because we're going to sell money.
Right. Yeah, we're fine.
But not to linger on this too much more. There's a lot more we could say, but I did want to at least talk about this Sarah Bond thing that she kind of went on and talked to Bloomberg's Dina Bass. I'm not going to go over the whole thing, but Bass did ask Bond specifically about the closure of Tango GameWorks, which Xbox admitted metrics was a big success. Bond's answer is not very straightforward. This is what she says.
I tweeted it out.
Did you? Okay, well, check our Twitter. But asked about what happened with Tango. One of the things I really love about the games industry is it's a creative art form, and it means that the situation and what successes for each game and studio is also really unique. There's no one-size-fits-all to it for us, and so we look at each studio, each game team, and we look at the whole variety of factors when we're faced with making decisions and trade-offs like that. But it all comes back to our long-term commitment to the games we create, the devices we build, the services, and ensuring we're setting ourselves up to be able to deliver on those promises. What a non-answer, first of all.
That's my frustration with the ambiguity of like the video game industry and Game Pass, and what is a success? What is a success for Starfield compared to Hi-Fi Rush on Game Pass? Those are different games with different budgets. Or when Gear 6 comes, like what is the success rate for Gear 6? And can you just tell us what it is? Like, yeah,
and they don't want to, Nick, because it's not successful, it's not profitable. And if they admit that, then it's end of the story. But they have so much capital and money with
That's
Microsoft
true.
back in that they go, we don't give a fuck. We'll outlast everybody.
Right. You just be like, yeah, Tango pitched us their next game. We weren't bought in. We didn't want to fund the cost of the studio, between the developers, the leasing space in Japan, all this stuff, all these factors led to it. We have so many other projects that are closer to the finish line. We just we could not wait. We could not spend the money. We had to make head count.
We want to release a Fallout game every 2 years.
Yeah, we want to focus on other brands. We wish them the best. They're getting a severance package or whatever. I'm sure they are. But it's just the reality of our business.
Yeah.
But they won't.
No, they won't. And
we all get to speculate as to really why it happened.
Yeah, I don't. Like I said, I am now officially. I can't make excuses anymore, and like. I don't think anybody else can either. Phil Spencer, he might be a nice man, but he talks out of both sides of that whole team talks out of both sides of their mouth. They're going to tell you what they want you to hear and then act accordingly with whatever makes their shareholders and stuff happy. I don't think they are out here for the betterment of video games. I think they're out here for the betterment of their pocketbooks and their shareholders. And that's what I lament most, right? I think of Nier Automata and Hades and these pieces of art. The reasons I fall in love with video games, and I just look over there and it just seems soulless. It seems like cash grabs. And get ready for the franchisization of all their things, right? You're going to probably be, I said that jokingly, but they're probably like, oh, if we could get a Fallout game every 2 years, spin-offs and stuff, like it'd be great and have all the stuff. And it's like, if that's what you want, cool, but I mean, lament how much money they have too.
I mean, it is capitalism, blah blah blah, and these companies are all the same. They all want to appease shareholders. They want growth. But you're right. When you look at Microsoft, there's not even the mask of we're doing right by developers.
We'll write
at least
a check
for a minute.
We'll write a
paycheck,
a check if we need to cover the cost of something. We'll go to Daddy Nadella and be like, hey, can we do this? Yeah, and he'll say, sure, I guess I don't care. You guys make 6% of our entire revenue anyway. Who cares? And then Phil Spencer gets the longest leash in the world. Like, when does that guy lose his job? Again, he's probably a very nice man, but people are nuking his Fallout 76 camp because they hate him. They hate him now. He's losing it. But no, for real, like, it's just.
I mean, he'll be front and center, in a month from now, teasing our next topic. They have that press conference June 9th. He'll be doing interviews. He'll be on stage. When you're up on stage and you go, we're committed to great games, indie games that people love and play on all these platforms. He's going to have to answer for this.
Yeah.
He's going to have to answer for all that.
But will he answer in a...
Oh, no.
a way that actually, gives us answers?
No.
Yeah, so... but, yeah, I mean, we're still kind of waiting for them to officially, Sarah Bond did the Bloomberg interview, but didn't really answer anything specifically. I'm curious to see how Phil/they address it in June. That's a fair point, but...
Yeah.
I wish that there was a more steady feeling of just the economics of the whole industry, and it's just every time we have this podcast, Nick, I feel worse and worse about it. But
it's always on the backside of just so many great games are coming out.
That's what I mean. Like, there's too much, man. Like, that's a good problem to have, and I'm sure I missed a ton of games that I played. When I was like 9 and I would go to Blockbuster and have the best weekend of my life renting a game, there's probably 40 games on that shelf that if I were now my age, I'd be like, oh, I want to play that one, I want to play that one, I want to play that one. But like, I don't know. It's a bubble, man. That bubble's gonna pop.
Right.
And it's popping.
All right, so let's move on to our next topic. We are less than a month from E3, not E3 season, and that's when all the big publishers are going to have their showcases. Jeff Keighley's going to get out there, and he's going to have Summer Game Fest June 7th. And leading up to this is, stuff's going to start leaking. They're going to start teasing. So I like to get ahead of that and start getting our predictions in for what we think is going to happen this summer over June. It's going to be big. Nintendo has said they are going to have a press conference, which we'll get into later. But let's stick with Microsoft. We love Microsoft here.
Yeah.
And we just had so many interesting thoughts on their current predicament. But, here comes June. Let's start with this. Hardware. Project Brooklyn, which was leaked as part of their FTC filing, which is their Xbox Series X redesign that is digital only. We saw that. There has been rumors of them making their own handheld device.
Yes.
John, what are we going to see from Microsoft from a hardware perspective, if anything?
I think you'll see both of those.
Oh, yeah?
I do. I mean, I remember back, I think it was that podcast they did when the Xbox team was addressing all the games coming over to PlayStation rumors that Sarah Bond specifically mentioned we're excited about our hardware lineup this year. And yeah, that could just be corporate speak and all they have is Brooklyn. But if I was at Xbox, I think a handheld does in fact make perfect sense. We're in
handheld how?
A portal
or a Steam Deck.
I think a Portal-esque device that can access Game Pass
and cloud.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, it has to be that, but it does make that platform specifically does in fact make perfect sense for a handheld. We are seeing a rise in Handhelds like we haven't seen since back in the Game Boy days. Between all the Steam Decks, the Switch success, Portal is still selling pretty well. There's obvious demand for it. Why not have a Game Pass device?
Yeah,
you'd be crazy not to. So I think they start to show that off.
Okay. Yeah, and it's probably time for a hardware refresh of some kind. Sony's already done theirs, so it is probably time for a different Series X and maybe a new Series S as well.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, the Series S, man. I don't even want to get into
it. Okay. All right, continuing on. We saw earlier this year Avowed, Indiana Jones, and Era History Untold. We also saw Hellblade, but it'll be out by this time. Any luck on seeing that? Those games.
I think you'll see one of those two, Indie or Avowed. I don't know if you see both.
Really? Because that would imply one of them's not coming out this year.
If they do that dumb, hey, everything you're going to see is going to be on the next year thing. Yeah, I mean, maybe. They're in a weird spot because they have so many games announced that they can provide updates for.
Yes.
But, like...
That was
what do they focus on? Because I keep seeing all these Perfect Dark rumors popping back up, and that needs to be shown off in some capacity at this point. So you could do a situation where it's like, here's a small indie trailer, here's a small Avowed trailer, here's our big pop with Perfect Dark. I just don't know what do you show off with Avowed anymore. Did they have a date specifically for that game?
They do not.
Okay, so I guess you could do another.
Indie and Avowed do not have dates.
Okay, so you can maybe do a small thing, showing off a little bit more with a date trailer. But
yeah, I mean, again, they have so many announced games right now.
Yeah, I don't know
South
how they
of Midnight, Contraband, Outer Wilds 2, but that Avowed will probably be shown before
Everwild.
That. Another Gears, Fable.
That rare Everwild game.
Yep. Yeah.
So they have
Kojima Productions' OD game.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got an exclusivity with Stalker 2, Heart of Chernobyl. That's coming out September. That'll probably very likely be there.
Yeah. I mean, and I think this is just kind of a symptom of them being pretty bad at managing. They don't have I don't think they have a good pulse on when these things are actually going to hit. So they kind of start, okay, well, let's make this aware, get people excited. And then they might have internal projections. Their teams, again, aren't managed well. So those get pushed. And so, yeah, they're going to want to show, I think Indie's there for sure, right? I think they've already said Indie's supposed to come out this fall.
Yeah. 2024 was the dates on a lot.
But I mean, unless if Avowed is they're confident in the date, I don't know, dude. They're so hard. They're so hard to predict. I really don't. Know what they focus on.
Yeah, I agree.
I put the one game I think that will be there is I think it's time for Perfect Dark to show back up. I'm a big where there's smoke there's fire kind of guy, and with industry insiders hearing rumors about that game, I think there's a trailer or something out there that's going to be shown.
Yeah, I think it's Jeff Grubb has been talking about it.
Yeah, the Grubb Master.
And probably Starfield DLC that is 100% on coming, so I'm sure they'll briefly touch on that and show it off. But let's talk about Call of Duty.
Ooh.
Call of Duty is coming. We get a new Call of Duty this year. But what about all the older Call of Duties? Getting those on Game Pass would be huge.
Yeah.
Very huge.
I think that's almost priority number one there right now, if not Fallout. But, yeah, I think they need to do that. There's been a little hemming and hawing lately on, do they even bother with Call of Duty on Game Pass to, really try and get more revenue in? But
I'm still of the thought that probably last year's and this current year's will not be.
Yeah.
But that also leaves another 15 Call of Duties.
Yeah.
And you think you'd blow it out of the water if they're starting today.
I think
15 Call of Duties, you can play all of them.
Yeah, I think they do all of them except for whatever this year's is. I think that's probably that's the kind of game. I mean, because you could maybe sacrifice a little bit of sales, but they do need to have a big pop. They can't seem too wishy-washy with it because then people are gonna their faith is already
I'm betting on up till I still don't think last year.
You don't think which one was last year? That was
Modern Warfare 4?
Yeah, maybe, who cares. Yeah, but they will put it on there. I mean, I think they've even come out and said as much, no, we're gonna put it on there, but in the specifics, I don't know.
Oh, they remade Modern Warfare 3.
Right, that one. Yeah, that was a bad one. So yeah, I think they throw that on there anyway. Just be like, who cares? This shit's not fucking going anywhere. But yeah, they have to.
Oh, and I do think that's just like a huge win for Game Pass. Like that's why you paid $70 billion. That's gonna bring like a lot of goodwill, a lot of like that's so many hours of game.
I mean,
right
if the numbers look good, they'll tell us. But I really want to know how much subscriptions that drives. Like, because it's probably one of those things where I go, it wouldn't drive that much, and then they're like, yeah, we grew 475%. And you're like, oh my god, everybody plays that all the time.
Yeah.
That's all they care about.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, that's all I got. I'm sure we'll get
Hollow Knight, dude.
Yeah, I was gonna save third parties for later, but I think they've been tied to Hollow Knight. They're tied to Visions of Mana. That was at their developer direct.
Oh yeah, that was weird.
And then I believe wasn't Metaphor ReFantasio at one of their events as well. No, that had its own event.
Yeah, that just
recently.
had something.
But I would just assume there's gonna be
they better not have Metaphor, dude. Like if they're like, oh, we're investing in Japan, and be like, you guys are clowns.
Final Fantasy 14 has a big expansion coming this summer, and that just launched on Xbox, so I assume that's going to be there as well. Yeah, they're an interesting one.
They'll have a good show, I bet. It's just how much do you believe everything? That's kind of how I am now.
Yeah, now in release dates, of course. Yeah. But all right, let's move on. Too much Microsoft. Let's talk to our bread and butter, John. And that's Sony. And that's where I'm going to bring the DEF CON level. What are we at, John? How close is a Sony showcase?
We're definitely within 2 weeks.
Within 2 weeks?
I think we're definitely within 2 weeks.
Okay.
They like to go first. They always have. They don't give a lot of lead-in time. I'm going to say... Hold on, let me pull up I'm going to pull up a calendar.
Which is funny because... By the time you listen to this and the time the next podcast airs, they could have announced and had a Sony showcase.
I'm going with my wife's birthday, May 23rd. Thursday, May 23rd.
Yeah. I think that's your best bet.
Just I'm feeling it. That's my wife's birthday. It seems right. Timing seems good, early enough. That's my put it in the books.
Yeah, when was last year's? I'm sure it was the same time frame. Details.
May 24th.
Yep, there you go. And Jeff Grubb has been saying as much that there is for sure a Sony showcase. So, again, if there is a Sony showcase, let's start again with hardware. That PS5 Pro, much rumored.
Oh, it's there.
John and I both predicted it at the beginning of the year to be a real thing coming this year. It's there.
It's there.
Okay.
Yeah. Another firstborn bet right there.
That's exciting. That would. Yeah. I just want to know. I want to know what it's doing.
I want to know. Yeah, I want to know what's doing. I want to see them show me some cool side by sides of like, oh, I can tell the difference. Like show me some of that cool stuff. Obviously, price is huge. Release date needs to be there if you're going to show it. But maybe not. Maybe they hold the release date and just say later this fall because they want to sell. They don't want people to not buy the consoles that are already in stock. So they might just be like, hey, it's coming later this year.
That's the only, that reasoning is the
that they might not.
They might not have it here. Yeah. That they would wait till September, announce for November, like they've done with the Portal and the earbuds or other hardware. So,
well, yeah, I don't know. I wonder if part of it depends. Obviously these companies know what each other are doing. So they're like, well, if Xbox is going to bring hardware, we want to bring hardware too, just to make it seem like, I don't know, not that we're lagging behind, but in some ways, that's how people interpret that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So,
but no other hardware. I mean, there might be some dumb headset or something. I don't know, but
yeah,
Portal Pro, the PlayStation Portal Pro that has cloud in it. That could be dope. That could be a thing. Couldn't it be a thing? That could be a thing.
Sure, it can be.
I don't know why I just thought of that for the first time ever. $300.
But I'm gonna say they're waiting on the PS5 Pro. I'm gonna sit there and let that
coward.
They're not gonna do it. They're gonna wait because when you mentioned the sales thing, and I'm like, this is
doesn't make. There's no reason to have a 3-month long PR cycle for it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just gonna sell or not.
Yep. So let's move on to their other hardware really briefly. The much forgotten PSVR 2. Will it have a It'll have a presence, of course, but will it be worth anything?
I am just going to continue to will this into existence. Astrobot is back. He's back. All right, we need him.
Time.
We need him. It's back. It's going to be a PS5, PSVR 2 hybrid weird game.
I agree.
That's going to happen, and I will kill Nick live on air if it doesn't.
And I believe this will accompany, because that rumor about it being made for PC or being able to work with PC. I think this is the time you say that as well.
Oh yeah, good call.
Yep, that it'll run. There'll be a software and it'll run on your PC, and they'll give the specs for what you need to get it there. So they'll try and move more hardware on PC as well. But outside of Astro, yeah, it is really a crapshoot. What could be
outside
there?
of Astro, it's not even worth predicting. I still would love to just mic drop of Half-Life Alyx will continue to be the coolest thing possible. That would probably get me if they announced a Half-Life Alyx in an Astrobot, you got my $500.
Right.
Like you'll get that immediately from me. So, but no, I can't begin to predict. There's some cool game called Behemoth that looked like Shadow of the Colossus in VR that was announced a while ago, and I don't know, but
yeah. All right, let's move on to again their announced games. Unlike Microsoft, not a lot coming from Sony first party that we are aware of.
Yep.
I have listed Fair Games, Marathon, Concord, Destiny 2 expansion, The Final Shape. That is coming June 4th, so that is almost guaranteed to be in a May showcase. Marvel's Wolverine, and then their second-party partnerships that are still left, Silent Hill 2, Death Stranding 2. Any chance of these games showing up?
I think this is Concord's time to shine. Weirdly enough, even though Fair Games I feel like is the one that I think of first, that game's coming first. I believe Concord's dated ahead of it. We've seen a little bit less of it, so I think it's time that we finally see what that's all about. What we don't even really know what kind of game it is.
Yep.
I believe they said first-person shooter. I think in some weird way.
Yeah, I think it's an extraction shooter.
Yeah, but it's time to see that. I don't think we're going to get a specific date, but I think we get a window there. And I think we see Silent Hill 2 for sure. It's time to put a date on that.
October.
Yeah. Why would you not do October? But the rest, I'm not confident in. I think Wolverine is still a little ways away, and you don't need to pop.
And according
with
to
that.
the leak, it is not Insomniac's next game. So,
Right, Venom, right?
mm-hmm.
Maybe see that there. Yeah, so I don't think you see Wolverine. The other game that is not an announced game, though, that I think has a decent shot is this Uncharted 5 thing, right?
So what do you think about that with the backdrop that on their earnings call they said no major titles in fiscal 2024? So that means from now till March of 2025, no major titles. I would assume an Uncharted 5
That would be a major title.
would be in there. So
It's just so weird. Why did they have that sizzle reel with a weird cave exploring girl?
because the game exists, it's just not ready yet.
Well, yeah, but I want to see. But I'm still gonna throw. I think they're gonna throw it out there. Like they usually have one game that they're willing to throw
True.
out
They
and be like,
could
hey,
go
this is coming
2025
next
and
year.
beyond, yeah.
I think that you hear the.
Yeah.
You do that. You show Sony Ben's developing it. You talk about Naughty Dog being involved. It's a win-win. Rebooting the series with Cassie Drake and what's her name from?
She's playing Abby.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, you're
Last
the
of Us Part
Devers.
2. Yeah.
Caitlin Devers.
Yeah.
You can even bring her out maybe and say, hey, I played her in the game and now I'm I don't know, but.
And I know it's tied to HBO and all that, but is there? I mean, because my brain just went there. I
Last of
wasn't
Us
going to
2
go here, but
teaser.
any of their they have several media projects out there. We know there's a second season of Twisted Metal.
Mm-hmm.
We have The Last of Us show. We have a God of War TV show coming from Amazon.
That's the one I think.
Is there any chance
that would be the one I think with
a tease
of God of War show maybe talk about casting.
Yeah.
I think if it is, it's been a rumor for a while and confirmed for a little bit now. So I don't know how far along with production they would be. I'm sure they haven't started filming or anything like that. But you could have, the cast kind of the announcement of that saying, hey, it's going to be coming summer of 2025. Mm-hmm. Going off the success of the Fallout show, Amazon showing that they can bring a video game adaptation very well and well received. Makes sense.
Okay. Yeah.
But that would be the one I would say if one did.
All right, and that's kind of really what I got. We covered Astrobot. Is there any more? Because again, if they say no major titles in the net for the next year, are we getting? Do you think there'll be more second-party exclusives as we saw earlier this year with Stellar Blade, Final Fantasy Rebirth, and Helldivers? Do you think outside of Silent Hill 2, will there be another one this year?
Nah, I wouldn't say this year. I mean, my brain immediately went to continue with the JRPG kind of exclusivity that they seem to love to purchase, Dragon Quest 12, but I don't think that's anywhere close. So no, I don't know. I don't have any feeling in my gut about that. I do have a third-party game that we can save for the third-party part that I could see I could see being there. But nothing from Sony or second party, I don't think.
All right. Let's move on to the final big console publisher, Nintendo.
It's called a manufacturer, Nick.
Yeah, you're right. Sorry. The president of Nintendo, Furukawa, got ahead of this event. He said there will be a June event.
Attaboy.
But it'll be Switch only. Not a single mention of Switch 2. So,
those are all my predictions.
Brace yourself. Yeah, John, you missed all this stuff last week. I'm sorry. As far as announced games from Nintendo themselves, they have a Luigi Mansion 2 HD, June 27th, and Nintendo World Championship NES Edition, July 18th.
What about Paper Mario? I mean, I know that's before.
That'll be out.
Yeah, okay.
That's actually out this week or next week.
It's Hellblade Day, right?
Yeah, I think so. Wow. Okay.
Get ready for.
We got no Switch 2 this year. What the hell is Nintendo going to talk about?
Yoshi's Crafted World 2? I don't I don't know. I mean, yeah, my predictions are now out the window because I missed that little piece of information. I mean, I was thinking it's kind of time for a new Donkey Kong game. Tropical Freeze was a big hit. I think 2012. You could maybe push that as a Switch and Switch 2 kind of game. I mean, they had a lot of success with Wii U / Switch games, right?
Right. Yes.
Breath of the Wild was one. Tropical Freeze was one. So I could see a Donkey Kong game maybe, or maybe even the sequel to Arceus might be a good one.
But would they release it? Would they release that game before the Switch 2, or would they just release it simultaneously on both platforms?
I don't know.
The Switch 2 is rumored to be backwards compatible. It'll take cartridges, so
I think it has to be. That would be the craziest thing ever, if not. And I'm pretty sure they've said as much that we've taken that into.
But again, would they release games ahead of time?
I think so. You could double dip at that point, man.
True.
Speaking as a man with no self-control myself, Donkey Kong's out. It's a 92. It's not coming out for 8 months on Switch 2, but you can play it right now if you want. Be like, yeah, I'll probably do that.
Yeah.
I think I did that with I did that with something. Might have been like Mario Kart or something. I don't know. But yeah, Nintendo has never been afraid to sell their products twice and keep them at the same price.
Well, if the Switch 2 is backwards compatible, you wouldn't necessarily be buying it twice. You would just play the Switch 2 version.
That's true. But it could have $10 patch upgrades, man. There's ways to nickel and dime it for sure. So I don't think that would inhibit them too much. But I don't think they're not gonna do a Odyssey 2 or Metroid Prime 4 in that way.
Yeah, so when I approached this, I was like, what is gonna run on the Switch's 7 to 8 year old hardware, and also be ready to go to Switch 2 as well. And my big one's Animal Crossing.
Yeah,
I think a big
second
release,
best-selling fucking game ever on Switch.
Sequel to that game coming out this fall, being the big Nintendo release, probably followed with a few more indie games and remakes.
That was 2020, right?
Yeah, that was COVID.
Because it came out the same day as Doom.
I think it's time. And again, I think the Switch hardware is definitely lacking. It's old, but I think Animal Crossing is not an intensive series that it would get dinged on any. Yeah, it could run on any platform, probably. Really,
that's a good fit. Yeah, another one I was thinking too. Yeah, whatever the sequel to Pokemon Arceus is. That was a stinky kind of looking game.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna, or they just go and we're just gonna release another half-baked Pokemon Cimmerillion, or something.
Right? A remake of an older Pokemon
something
game.
Like that.
Yeah,
but
for remakes for sure. Probably
you can
coming.
lean on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, man. Like that's a they're really pushing the life of this thing, and they've earned it. They're able to. Yeah. You know, it could potentially outsell the PS2.
Yeah, my girlfriend's sister was just complaining because their Switch broke and they had to buy a new one, and she was shocked that it was, the same price. Yeah. It has not changed.
Get fucked, nerd. That's how Nintendo operates.
All right, let's bring it home. Let's talk about third parties. Let's wrap up this segment here. We know Summer Game Fest. There is going to be a Batman Arkham VR game there. Not by Rocksteady, by Camouflage, who did the Iron Man VR game. That is confirmed to be at Summer Games Fest. We know there's an Ubisoft Forward. For sure, Star Wars Outlaws and Assassin's Creed Shadows will be there. But what else do we got?
Well, I'll just go into what I was thinking on the PlayStation side. So there's been rumors of this, and I think that this team has proven that they are unstoppable in the past couple of years. I'm going to say we're going to see Resident Evil 9.
That is on my list. Yeah, so you think so? Because
yeah,
you sent me that rumor that it's coming, and it's a lot closer than you think. It is a January game.
They are a monstrous team, man. They have the Resident Evil, I think, method down so well right now. Between making first-person modes, third-person modes, VR modes for the different games, like. I believe 8 came quicker than we kind of thought it did.
That was 2021, right?
8? I want to say 2022, but either way, that wasn't very, very long after.
It's not 2022 because we talked about the Ethan Winters expansion on our show.
Yeah, 2021. Good. Look at you. May 7th, 2021. So I think that they, have all the, they might even do a thing where we're releasing the game and then we're going to have the VR mode coming in the future and continue to be able to work on it. But I think Capcom, with the amount of money they're receiving, they're hiring up, they're expanding, people want to work for them. They have a very good thing going over there. So, we're going to see Resident Evil 9.
And, John, you get so fatigued so easily about franchises. Last we were just a year from Resident Evil 4 is January of 2025. Is that enough time, or are you going to be tired?
I don't think I can get fatigued by horror. I don't know why. I think just being scared is unfatigable.
Okay.
And yeah, I don't really have a good answer for you because I'm going to probably have to take a different stance on something that I had a stance against Star Wars for, you know what I mean? But yeah, I don't know. I just give me a different setting with a different type of villain, and I'm good. That washes away every type of fatigue I could have.
And so place your bet right now. Who is the protagonist of Resident Evil 9? Obviously, I don't think it'll be Ethan Winters.
Yeah, no, it won't be Ethan. I think it's either his daughter or a new one, probably.
Yeah, I would hope it's a new one. Please do not lean on Chris or Jill or all the people from the past, but they will.
Yeah, they will.
At least one of them will be in it. So
Ada's awesome voice acting. Yeah, I don't know. And I mean, there's a lot of questions. Right? Is it going to be first person again? Is maybe not? We don't really know. I don't think.
Yeah. We talked about it before, and I don't want to get lost. We can.
They like
when
to
it's announced, we can kind of go into that further. But I think we've said as much as it's hybrid.
Yeah, they like to operate in trilogies. So, and there's also rumors of remake, them redoing the first Resident Evil in a remake form too. So
that's got to be further.
Yeah, it's exciting. So. Yeah, but it could also be a really that's not a big game. Depending on how they do it, I don't know. Yeah, they could be like a Ratchet and Clank remake. Where we're just gonna do $40. It's like a beautiful mansion, but it's 6 hours. I don't know.
It's possible.
Yeah.
All right. Shadow of the Earth Tree. We'll be right on top of it.
Yes.
That's almost a guarantee to be at Summer Game Fest.
And to piggyback off of that, I think FromSoft is also going to show what's next. I think they have a...
Shit.
Yeah, I mean, thinking back on how they like to announce things, I think of that Sekiro trailer that was just like the arm. I don't know if you remember that. Didn't show any of the game. I think it did. I don't even know if it showed the title. It's just like Shadows Die Twice. And you're like, what the fuck is that? And I think they did the same thing with Elden Ring, where they're like, here's this crazy little trailer. We're going to show it. It's there. And then we're not going to talk about it again for a year and a half. So I could see them doing some dumb, here's the next thing. You're going to play it, but also...
Too soon. They're going to focus on Shadow of the Earth Tree, and then what you're talking about will be at the Game Awards this year. But I don't.
Whatever.
I think it's way too soon.
You're just a hater.
Other things, I have Warner Brothers down here. Is there any chance that Suicide Squad shows up? I mean, they have leaked DLC characters. Can they turn this ship around?
They can't turn the ship around. No, that ship's long gone. I think I could see them being there though, and met with a very underwhelming. Ugh.
What about Wonder Woman from Monolith, who did the Shadow series? They have not been shown. That game was revealed quite a few Game Awards ago and has not been shown since.
I would almost I forgot that they were doing that one, because I would almost be like, oh, there'll probably be the next Shadow of War game, Mordor game, because like the Lord of the Rings IP is coming back in movie form, and like, synergist, people love
They
synergy.
lost it. I don't think Warner Brothers. That's why it's not in multiverse.
Oh yeah, it's like
anymore.
Middle Earth Enterprises or whatever.
Yeah.
It's time. I mean, that's probably the most forward of, between like the Captain America Black Panther game. Isn't there just a standalone Black Panther game that's happening?
Yep, EA.
Yep. So I feel like the Wonder Woman game seems to be the one that was announced first and should be furthest ahead. So, yeah.
Yeah, but it hasn't been shown, so
no.
Who knows?
I wonder. Yeah, maybe people might be scared right now of, not to go down this rabbit hole, but of just superhero stuff. For like, Suicide Squad just did not do anything at all. And granted, its problems were not based in the superhero realm, but it's just like, I wonder if they're just kind of like, oh, we need to, we were developing a live service game now. Maybe we should pull back that a little bit. And so I wouldn't be surprised to, but I don't know. I don't know if it'll be there.
All right, and other things I got is, continuing on Capcom, Monster Hunter Wilds. That's a huge game.
That is a huge game.
I don't know how close it is, if they have any plans for it to be a fall title, but if so, and Capcom's plate is kind of empty right now, but I mean, that would be a great fall game for them. And then the other one I have is from EA, and where the fuck is Dragon Age Dreadwolf?
It's coming, man. It's coming. That's another one, a smoke there's fire type thing. I just was reading last night that the team at BioWare is incredibly happy with how it is right now, which
whatever.
Caution, folks. But that game got reworked for sure. That game changed mid through production or something. I mean, when was that game announced? Like 20.
It's been a minute.
Yeah, 2018, something like that. I don't know what else EA really would have. So,
a new Battlefield. It's probably time. Yeah. They're definitely ramping that up, as they announced. EA Motive is helping on it, so
they should be working on Dead Space, but that's fine.
But as far as like any new announcements, there are some fall games coming out: Black Myth Wukong, Warhammer 40K,
Black Myth Wukong,
Space Marine 2.
I think Wolong. It's another Outer Worlds, Outer Wilds situation. Every time I hear that, I'm like, wait, no, that already came out.
Those games are probably guaranteed to be shown because they have dates and they're coming later this year. But
Warhammer.
Yeah, I said Warhammer. Space Marine 2.
I don't.
But anything else? Anything that you can think of? Do you have a hope for anything?
Bloodborne 2.
Yeah, not happening.
That's what FromSoft is going to tease, and people are like, ah!
I mean, what's their face?
Blue Point.
Blue Point. That's your hope.
I would love to see what Blue Point's working on. I weirdly. I know a lot of people hate the idea of remakes and stuff, but like the idea of a top tier team remaking or pushing forward a IP that I love is I'm curious. But
and just a PC version of that game alone would be insane.
Yeah, Bloodborne is a game I've only beaten once, which is weird to me because it's short of Elden Ring, it's probably the best of that series to me, the entire FromSoft. But yeah, it's just running at 30 frames, and with the idea that like, please bring it forward. I've never gone back, but I've never played the Old Hunters DLC, which people regard as the best DLC in the entire series too. So there's like lots of reasons to go back, but no, every type of wish I would have would just be like me trying to like just will something into existence.
Yeah, Nier Automata 2.
Bloodborne 2. I mean, I don't think Judas will be. I want more Judas info, but like they just showed that off. No, man, I'm feeling pretty at peace right now with like, I got Stellar Blade to play, I got Rebirth to play. I'm at peace with like, the amount of stuff for me. But I just hope whatever happens that I'm surprised that I have a couple moments where I want to take my shirt off and run around the room. But
I don't think that'll happen.
That doesn't happen very much anymore. I'm 34. I'm
jaded.
I'm not a little boy.
But this fall, needs to be filled out. So hopefully, that's all what I'm always kind of looking for, to be like, hey, 3 to 4 titles this fall I'm playing. I'm excited for Outlaws. I really want that game to prove itself. But a few more titles would be great to just be like, yeah, I'm playing Astrobot in October, and yeah, I'm playing Assassin's Creed Shadows in November, and it's getting filled out. But
one thing for Sony that I did just kind of think of is, when are we going to see motion on all these crazy amount of Horizon things that have been talked about and announced? Like, there's the MMO and the remake of the first one, and I just saw something about Lego partnering with them.
That's hard to say what that is, because they have partnered with Lego before.
It could just be a mode in Fortnite or something. Like, hey, we're bringing Horizon into the Lego Fortnite thing.
Or just a new Lego set. Like I said, there is a Lego set for Horizon.
But like there's a crazy amount of Horizon stuff out there.
We talked on this very show about the Horizon Zero Dawn remake, and whatever that is.
Yeah, that's
not something to get excited
about. It's a
about.
bridge too far for me.
But we'll see. Like I said, a month from now, we'll have a lot to talk about. Yep. So, very much, like I said, a showcase could be announced, air by next episode. You never know.
Yeah. So officially, what DEF CON level is, I'm going to say
you're at a 2.
I'm at a 2 because not
you
by
want
the
next week.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I think DEF CON 2. It's
a
imminent,
early.
but we think it's a year from the last one. So next week.
I just hope it's not another situation where it's like we go a month now and like Sony has nothing and we're just like, when are you guys gonna talk again?
Yeah.
That was the worst.
Then July passes and September passes, and
fuck that.
All right, so let's bring this home on the final topic. I teased it earlier. May 9th was kind of this, in this horrible week of news. May 9th became this little indie day because a bunch of indie games came out. Including Crow Country, Little Kitty Big City, Crypt Master,
Little Kitty Big City,
and kind of the big shocker was Animal Well. And Animal Well comes from a single developer, Billy Basso, and this is the first game published by Big Mode, which is Video Game Donkey's publishing studio. And if you're not familiar with him, he's a big YouTuber. And when he announced that he had a publisher, there was like a lot of pushback, like what would he know about publishing a game? Well,
his money's just as green as the next one.
Yeah, exactly. That was Jason Schreier's quote, is like, if you knew who was publishing normal video games and what they know about the industry.
Yeah. Saudi Arabia. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, he picked a winner. He saw something in this game and published it because it is an 89 on OpenCritic. It is the 5th best reviewed game of 2024, and it is currently out on Switch, PC, and PlayStation. And if you're a PlayStation Plus Extra subscriber, sorry, John, you get it for free. So, John, So I guess I'll describe the game first, and then I'll pass it to you for your impressions. But the game is I hate to use the term, but if you're familiar with the industry, Metroidvania. If you're not familiar with the industry, it is a 2D dungeon explorer in which you get items that give you either mobility or abilities to move forward, get further along in the dungeon, and you get another one and another one and another one. You kind of fill out this whole map, and you find bosses along the way, lots of hidden secrets. It's a tried and true formula. It's one of many that have come out this year. Prince of Persia: Lost Crown. Everyone's jonesing for a Hollow Knight Silk Song. Mm-hmm. That's another game in this genre. But this one's a little different. It's got a very unique art style. There is no combat to speak of. There are enemies, but you do not deal with them. You're not shooting them or hitting them with swords. And I'll get in kind of the items in a little bit, but it's kind of got 3 layers, and this is what the creator said. There is the first layer, which is the basic dungeon crawler, Metroidvania, roll credits. And then there's the second layer, which is finding all the secrets. All these hidden eggs are throughout the map. And then the third layer is an ARG that requires collaboration. These are secrets that are very, very, very well hidden, to where in which he says they may never be found. And this has led to, again, everyone kind of just embracing the game, loving the aesthetic, loving the vibes, the music, and just getting lost in this well, which is full of adorable animals, which is a benefit. Otters, chinchillas are used a lot. Just dolphins, seahorses. It's a feel good, chill game for the most part. But I'll toss it to John to give his impressions, and then we'll go into mine as I rolled the first credits.
I have a feeling that this is going to be one of those games that I look at for years to come and go, I should give that another shot. Because I tried it, and I immediately go, oh, my brain doesn't want to do this right now. Because I love Metroidvania games.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to say.
I love them. Hollow Knight and Super Metroid all the way back to that one, and Castlevania Symphony of the Night. They're all great. But booting into this game, didn't quite know what to expect. I did admittedly pick this game in the league last year, so that would have been an 89 that I would have had. So I did see something in it too, but at the same time, playing it, I just kind of get the vibe that this is one of those that's just not for me. It's just not my typical gameplay itches that I look for, right? It's because when I loaded into it, what I like about Metroidvanias, at least a small part of it, is you go into the world and you pretty quickly know, okay, here's where I'm limited so far, right? Like, I'm on this little area, there's a door over there, there's a blowable wall over there, enemies are down there, and there's a big fight that I got to do over there. Where I booted into this game, and I'm just going from screen to screen to screen to screen to screen to screen to screen with no combat, with no really instructions as to what to do, short of like, hey, you found some firecrackers, throw them, and it interacts with the world. And it's cool. The graphics are great. The pixel art where you like jump your little blob into like a light and it swings around, it looks really cool. The music is cool. The vibe is cool. The reviews are great, obviously. You're playing it, you love it. But like, at least with the 2 times I've tried it, and admittedly it was about 5 to 10 minutes each, so I haven't really sunk my teeth into it. I just kind of got the not right now thing, right?
Sure.
And that's partly because I have Stellar Blade and Rebirth
right
looking at me in the face, and I have Shadow of the Erd Tree in a month and a half that like this is not gonna make. I'm not gonna make time for you right now, but I'm also not gonna write you off entirely. Don't really quite know how to feel about it, but I feel like it's not really.
And what he's speaking to is mostly these dungeon crawlers, these Metroidvanias. Typically, even though there's a giant map, you're typically ability locked, and the game will naturally funnel you to to the next unlock, and then the map opens a little bit more, and then a little bit more, and a little bit more. And admittedly, with Animal Well, you get to the center of the well itself, and you're given basically 4 directions you can go in, and you can go pretty far in any of them before reaching these barriers that John's talking about. And I will admit that it is very overwhelming at first.
Yeah, it was intimidating.
You almost don't know, like, am I going the right way? Am I doing the right thing? Am I really stuck, or is there a puzzle here that I'm just not knowing how to figure out?
Within the very first 45 seconds, I got into this room, and there was a platform that I jumped across, but I hit a button, and then the platform sank, and I couldn't get back. And I kept jumping into the well, or like a pit, and it just put me back. I'm like, I don't know where to go. Either the game's broken, or I fucked up. And like, there was a little tiny like where area you could drop down and then go into the wall, and it like escaped the room. I was like, oh god, this is the first 45 seconds. Like, I don't know if I want to do this right now.
Yeah, this game is very obtuse. It's not going to hold your hand. It's not going to tell you where to go. You're going to pick up items and go, what do I do with this? And the game is not going to tell you. And there will be clues in the environment. It's kind of been this big thing lately, is these yellow walls, right? Mm-hmm. Like yellow paintings. It's in Stellar Blade. It's in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, where they must have known in QA that gamers are getting stuck, and so they have to signpost where they have to go. And Animal Well does not do that for you at all. And I believe my recommendation to John is just to play more, fill out the map, get to the items, and it'll start
making sense.
The cohesion will be there. But if not, just follow a guide to the next item, and then from there just cut it off.
That's kind of what I was thinking of doing.
Keep going, because just so you know with where you're supposed to go initially, because I do think I got stuck a few times in this. Some of them I hit myself on the head and go, why didn't I think of that?
Yeah.
And stuff like that. But I do think like when you figure it out naturally, it's very rewarding.
Yeah.
And especially when you're dealing with just all kinds of animals. And one of the examples here, one of the items you get in this is a slinky. And it's a lot, all the items, I don't want to spoil them all, are really silly like that. So you get a slinky, and we all know what a slinky does. It's a toy that can automatically go downstairs.
Loves a slinky.
Yeah, so you can use this to activate switches and kind of time your switches. So while it's going down the stairs, you can run to make sure you're in place on the platform that the switch is going to trigger. And I had one of those, and these adorable little otters kept destroying it. Like they would come and play with it, and then they would destroy it before it could hit the switch. And I'm like, what do? I don't understand like what I got to do here, because this is the only thing I can do here is drop this slinky. And I had more items, and I won't spoil the other item, but I have this other item, and what you're supposed to do is kind of drop the slinky, go to the other side of the map, and use this other item to distract them because they want to play with this other item too.
The yo-yo.
Yeah.
It's in the trailers, folks.
Okay.
It's in the trailers,
yeah,
folks.
It is the yo-yo. And so it was like, oh, yeah. And so they're trying to grab at my yo-yo, which they can't destroy, while the slinky's on the other side of the screen going bloop, 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 bloop,
Yeah.
bloop, bloop. And it was just an adorable, cute puzzle that was fun to figure out. And a lot of the items in this are just like that. A lot of the puzzles like this.
So what was the goal of figuring that puzzle out? Was it just to be able to get to the next screen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. A lot of in this game has a lot of puzzles. Some of them are to get these collectibles, these eggs, and most of them are to just progress. And again, there is no combat in this, so that's why like when you mentioned Celeste is a game you love, that like I said, just give some time to this. I think you'll fall into that same groove.
But Celeste is finger based, not brain based, and I have a bad brain.
Yeah. And John, you're going to love hearing this. I mean, the roll of the first credits is just over 4 hours.
Yeah.
So this is not a huge commitment by any means. Going further than that, I heard is a lot of hours. But
looking at the map, it looks like a lot, but at the same time, knowing how fast I was moving through that world, I was like, oh, that's not probably too bad, actually.
yeah,
is this platinumable?
I think I'm going to go for it. There are 64 eggs. That is kind of the phase 2 of this.
I found one.
Yeah, you'll find them throughout the world. I found over 16, and you'll find out what you have to do with them. That is very obvious. But
Hatch animals.
No, they're very similar to the Hollow Knight, the grubs.
Oh, okay.
And that's kind of you're kind of collecting them for someone. But no, the game it's just a lot of cool locations. Like you mentioned, the visuals. Like you'll just come across places and you'll just stop because they just are visually stunning.
Just like the music, like you load into the game and like these 4 little like fires are on the screen. They go out one by one, and I don't remember what the exact noise, but I was like, ooh, I like this. Like it just is like it's almost like not creepy, not dreamlike, but kind of a mixture of that.
Yeah, that's a perfect description. I believe is like, and then just there's no like dialogue, and there's just a sense of mystery.
Yeah,
like what's happening. And even when I rolled credits, I entered this room with stuff in it, and I'm just like, what do I do with this? Like, what is it? And it made me like intrigued to continue on to the next phase of the game, to see more, because I only saw a chunk of the story. Like even though I rolled credits, I don't really think I finished the game. It doesn't feel like that.
Yeah,
because I
a
don't.
Near Automata situation. Ooh,
yeah. It's a wonderful game so far. I really recommend, especially with PlayStation Plus Extra, that you at least give it an hour. Let it sink its hooks in you.
Do you think we now have another Concerned Ape, another Toby Fox, Jonathan Blow type?
Yes.
Do you think this Billy Basso?
Yeah.
It's a good name. So you think he's like, oh, we got another one. This guy's going to be making creative, cool shit for a little bit. It might take him a while.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
It might take a while, but
yeah, it would be nice if this game caught on, so he could be as successful as the Stardew Valley guy, and
it won't. But that's fair.
But yeah, a lot of hype about the game right now.
Donkey. I mean, and being that Donkey's attached is a weird form of advertisement that
Yeah, he's
that
released
should
a
help.
bunch of videos about
Right.
leading up to it. So, it's worth checking out. Again, the Open Critic reviews, it has my recommendation so far. And we'll see if I platinum it, but I'll have more as I dig deeper into it. I don't know about this third layer of the game, this ARG part. I might look into it and then bring it to the show, but so far, it's and the reason Animal Well just besides the reviews is like I'm staring down 2 JRPGs and I'm just
It's a good little palate cleanser. That's the thing. Indie games are so, if you can find one to just like push in between something huge, feels so good. Love it.
Yeah, and then they just bring a different vibe. I don't know. Like I think I'm coming to John's side about big games and the time commitment that they take, and just they're intimidating. And sometimes it's like, I'm staring at a game like Dave the Diver that's 30 hours and under. I'm staring at Animal Well that I could put down right now and say that's it. But and why I'm probably, if you were to hand me Stellar Blade right now, it'd probably be my next game. Yeah, because I just don't want. When I look at I loaded in Infinite Wealth and I'm like, oh my god. Yeah. I load in Unicorn Overlord, which is resuming my
forgot you were doing
progress
that too.
My progress from the demo, and I'm like,
ooh,
I don't want to do this either. And so, I'm been open to Dave the Diver. I'm open to Animal Well, and
that's smart, man. I mean, AAA games are great, but they're safe, right? They're following tried and true industry analyzed things to make a game as attractive and well-rounded for the most amount of people as possible. And indies, you just get these every once in a while. They're not all going to hit for you, but if you give them a fair shake, right? Undertale is the perfect example. I love it. You're not for you, but at least you try it, right. You figure it out, and then you find one like Animal Well or Dave the Diver, and you're like, okay, all right, there's a lot of cool stuff here.
And, kind of looping it around to your topic about, how many games are released now. It sucks because, like Troll Country is a Resident Evil homage, and I would love to check that out, but I don't think I have time, And maybe if it came to PlayStation Plus Extra.
There it is. There's the film. Yeah, maybe if it's a Game Pass game, I'll play it. And then they die. And then SFB Games dies, Nick, because we didn't support them.
Yeah. I'm doing my best. Like
I know.
I buy games all the time. Don't look at me.
You are not.
Leave me alone, man.
Leave me alone, man. You are not the problem. That is true.
So yeah, that is a game that we'll bring back to the show for sure. But all right, John, this has been a long episode, as we knew it would be. Let's get onto the teases phase here. Sony Showcase, still a possibility. We don't think it's this week, but it could happen. Never know. Video game character battle royale needs to come back. We promise it is coming back next week.
Needs to come back and die.
Yeah, John's very happy with the results so far.
More so that it's just 9 months later.
And again, we'll be getting that look at Assassin's Creed Shadows, kind of get the direction that is going in. We're going to talk about that too. But outside of that, John, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm trying to get back into the swing of things. So, Stellar Blade is continuing on.
Is that number one?
That is number one. Yeah. So the order is Stellar Blade into immediately back into Rebirth to try and get that to get back to you. I know you don't have a time constraint on it, but just to, those are the two. Like those two need to go away. There's always a couple that need to go away. But no, I mean, I'm looking forward to hopefully we'll get some Hellblade 2 reviews. We can maybe talk about that. I know that comes out on the 21st, so 8 days from right now while we're talking.
Yeah, that'll definitely be out.
And then, I mean, World of Goo 2 and Paper Mario, like I don't really have probably much to say about those, but no, I think I'm just going to be kind of, trying to get through those games and keeping a pulse on Twitter to make sure that when the showcase is announced, we can throw that up there and figure it out. Talk about it.
Yeah, we got burned hard on that Sony showcase last year, so my expectations are going to be a lot lower going into this
Basically, it's whenever, as long as this podcast is going, the showcases are going to suck. But the moment this podcast dies, it's going to be. That's what I'm thinking.
Or we're not around each other to watch it. Then it'll be the banger one.
Or that.
All right, and then I'm going to bring more Animal Well, and I'm going to bring late last year, we brought an off-topic Oppenheimer discussion. I really want to get back on, if there's something out there that we really enjoy, kind of get a deeper dive into our personalities.
I'm trying to think.
Should be obvious, John.
Should be obvious?
Yeah. It's X-Men 97, of course.
Oh, God. Okay.
I want to bring it. The first season will be over, and I'm going to give my spoiler-free thoughts on it next week. It is definitely worth talking about on the show.
It's done. It's all good. Like, you finished it?
No, the first season will be done by next episode.
Oh, okay. So you're in it's because it's like a 3-part finale thing.
Yeah.
So is there one more?
Yeah, there's one more part.
Okay.
And the first season will be done.
Big stuff.
Yeah, big stuff. So,
yeah, I mean,
X-Men fan.
And when does Deadpool Wolverine come out?
That is July 26th.
All right, so that's a ways away.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm a weirdo that probably wants to talk about Nosferatu, so it's fine.
If you feel strongly about it and you think the listeners care.
One of those is going to be true.
All right, so let's move on to the song. I think this game's going to come up quite a bit this year. I think this and Stellar Blade will compete for most plays on our podcast. But of course, with the launch of Hades 2, the soundtrack is out there. Darren Korb is back.
Darren Korb,
and he's killing it again. I'm withholding from listening to the entire thing, but Spotify has been recommending a few songs. And the first one we're going to do is Death to Kronos, the big bad of the game, the Titan that he did something. He kidnapped Hades, so we got to put a stop to him. So.
Kidnapped Hades. What a plot.
So yeah, it's a great song. Enjoy it, get hyped. If you're playing Hades 2, write in.
Sure.
Make John jealous. You need make him more hyped than he already is, which is not possible.
That's true.
But yeah, that's it. We will of course be back next week with up to 6 things. We love you guys. Review us on your platform. And we'll be back.
Later, Gator.